Hey everyone, if you listened last week, you knew I was going up to Fort Ticonderoga to take some pictures at the volunteer reception. And it really wasn't a big deal. It wasn't that I was going to be taking a lot of pictures. I just needed to get a group picture and maybe a couple of extra pictures. But what I wanted to try out was something I haven't done since I got the bag. And that is, if you get lighting, and I got some Amazon lighting and some other lighting. You know, they come in their own bags. But I went and bought a different bag. And let me explain why and how this helps. So, when you're packing your lighting, first of all, you want to make sure that whatever you're packing it in is something you can deal with. So the bag I got has a pair of wheels on the bottom, which having to drag it over some dirt and stone, not a fan. Dragging it across the parking lot and upstairs, stairs, not so hot. But if you got that nice smooth parking lot or an asphalt area to drag it across, it worked beautifully. It is a little on the heavy side, and there's a reason for that. And that's because it's got every one of my stands in it. It's got my umbrellas in it. It's got my reflectors in it. It's got my LED lights, and it's got the batteries and the chargers for it. So I was able to get a large bag, either at a B&H or at a Rama. Again, wheeled. It's got a big carry handle on it. Right, so it's you can carry it if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably about 30 pounds. And it's 4 foot by about 1.5 by about 1.5. So it's a big bag. For me, coming in at 5'5", it's unwieldy. All right, it's almost as big as I am. So it makes it a little difficult for me to haul it around. However, because of the wheels, that's the saving grace. Now, because of that, when I bought the other lighting kits, some with fluorescence and that kind of thing to them, those kits came with their own bags. Now, the bag I've got the lighting kit in is great to a certain extent. I can't put everything in it. I cannot put an entire studio in the bag. I can get close. Like I said, I've got lighting umbrellas that I can use for softboxes. I've got the umbrellas that I can use for reflective. I've got handheld reflectors. I've got the LED lights with the barn doors on them. I've got a ton of options that I had with me. I only needed one light, but I wanted to see how it was going to be carting this all around. And I needed a tripod. Now, in theory, I could have mounted the tripod by attaching it to the handle, the straps on the bag, and then just carrying the bag around by the handle in the front of it, which is the drag handle for the wheels. But what about backgrounds? Well, the only problem I've got with the bag is my one background top beam isn't the right size for the bag. It's bigger than the bag. The legs for it are in the bag with the lighting. So I've got everything in the bag for doing that except for the backgrounds, tripod, and that top beam, that top brace for putting the backgrounds over. I could even throw the clips in there, but I don't have the clips in there because when I bought the other lighting, they each came with their own kind of like a duffel bag type of thing. I put all my backgrounds in there, right? Now, the top beam, of course, still doesn't fit in anything. So that's going to have to be a separate piece that I have to deal with all the time, that I need a background. But the backgrounds themselves, the clips, any of that stuff that I need can go in one of these duffel bags. You could even go so far as to putting your sand bags in these as well. Now, the problem is when you've got that much, you now have probably exceeded what you can cart by yourself. So you're going to have to either have help or you're going to have to make multiple trips. I was trying to get this down to as little as possible, and I didn't need to have the sandbags, so I didn't have to worry about that, and I didn't need the background, so I didn't have to worry about that either. I could just grab my bag, bring it with me, see what it was like to have basically a portable studio with me, and then set it up and see what I thought. I got away with one light. I probably could have gone double, put a second light up on the other side, but the one thing I realized is I hadn't checked the bottoms of the lights in a while, and I didn't bring any pads with me. So I didn't have any pads to set the light stands on. And when I looked at the light stands, and this is a beautiful old building I was in, I didn't want to put those light stands down on the hardwood floor. Probably could have without issue. I think I'd rather have some kind of rubber padding that I'll have to find to go underneath the legs. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to, I'm not talking about a big square piece of rubber, because the legs are adjustable. They could be at different heights. But small squares of rubber that you could just put underneath each of the individual legs when you put it down would have been awesome. Something to keep in mind, and something I can throw in the bag with the stands, right? I could just get a bag of these things, toss it in the bottom, and leave it there. And if I really wanted to, I could go get a piece of rubber tile flooring, which is cheap, and cut it to whatever I want to use. And then just put it in a bag and put it in the lighting bag. But again, bear in mind what you are capable of handling and what will fit in your car. That was the other issue. When I bought this bag, right, 4-foot long bag, I thought this will be awesome for my vehicle. I have an SUV. I don't have an SUV anymore. Haven't for a couple of years. When I bought the replacement card for the SUV, the Hyundai, I could put the bag in the back and slide it with the seat down without a problem. Worked great. Not with the new one. The Veloster has an issue to it that I didn't think about at the time, and that issue is when you fold down the back seat, it doesn't fold flat. And that becomes an issue because as you're trying to push the bag in, you have to raise it over that. Well, the bag is 1.5 feet tall, and as soon as you raise it up over that, you're stuck. You can't put it into the car. A 4-foot bag will fit completely across the back seat. So I was able to carry it and bring it in and out that way, but not where I wanted to put it, which was mostly in the trunk, right? The previous vehicle, I could do that without any trouble because the back seats felt folded flat. The SUVs, the back seats folded flat, but the Veloster, not so much. So once I found that and got it across the back seat, I could travel with it. But again, it's something you need to keep in mind when you go get a bag. Right? What is it going to take? And while I call it a bag, it's more like a rolling chest. It is solid. It's not, it's fabric material on the outside, but it's not going to fold. It's solid all the way around, so it's going to go in where it's going to go in or not. So keep that in mind. Keep the weight in mind as you're putting things into it. I got this because I knew I could put so much in the bag that I could literally carry a studio with me. And if I really wanted to, I could take some of the other stuff that I've got in other bags and stuff it in there. Again, when you start to stuff things in, now your backdrops could get wrinkles and folds and all that kind of stuff. So that they're better off in the duffel bag. The duffel bag can easily be attached by clip or otherwise to the top straps of the bag, and you've got a travel studio. All right, you could go anywhere with it. So you could shoot at an event with it. For shooting a wedding, you'd have an entire studio with you that you would set up to do the bride and groom, for example. So look them up. See what's appropriate for your budget and what's appropriate for the amount that you can carry and how much stuff you got. You can plan ahead a little bit, but again, If you start updating things, you've got one or two things you're probably going to be doing if you're starting to add more lighting. The first could be that you just didn't have enough lighting before, and maybe your bag's got enough room for it. Second thing, though, and more likely, is you've upgraded your lighting. So instead of needing another bag, you just need to swap out the older equipment that you got, older light stands, etc., and swap them for some newer stuff. So you wouldn't need a new bag. And you don't need to have a ton of lighting. All right? When I say my lighting's all in there, I've got the 2 LED lights. While I've got 3 umbrellas that are in there, because that would allow me to do 2 reflective umbrellas and a softbox umbrella to get rid of all the shadows if I wanted to from a shoot. But that's pretty much what I've got, and the lighting to go on the top. Now, the lighting for those, again, is problematic in that, except for the LED lights, everything is run by a power cable. There's a good and a bad thing to that. Power cables mean something that's there that some people could trip over, right? It also means you have to be able to have power going somewhere, which means that you've got a power cable that needs to go somewhere, and that means you're going to have extension cords, right? Unless you have one of those small, to me, misnamed things called solar generators. They're not a generator. They're not generating power. They've stored power. It's a battery unit. And if you've got one of those or a couple of those, you could run your lights off of them. But they're heavy, right? So let's keep that in mind as well. I've got several units in my house because I have a solar powered system in the house. And in addition to the main unit, I have 3 supplemental units. One is a 2 kilowatt unit. It's heavy. It could run your one half of it. It's a 2-part system. One's a battery and one's the main unit. The main unit itself could be used and would work well. Run all the lights for hours. Downside, you then still have to have the lights close enough that they can run to the unit. Option B, having multiple smaller units. They may not run things as long. It might be heavier to have multiple smaller units than to have one bigger unit. But the unit could not only be next to the light, the unit can actually help stabilize the light. Right? You could attach the light to the unit so that there's some extra bulk to it, some extra weight to the lighting itself. You got something like an umbrella and this thing is attached to it. The umbrella is not going to cause it to tip over because the battery is going to hold it in place. Those units will run things for, well, again, probably for hours, depending on what type of lighting that you're using. We're not using big fluorescent units here. So the LED light bulbs or the LED panels are probably going to last for hours and hours and hours on these smaller units. You just have more of them that you have to deal with. So in that case, probably having another case that just handles those units is probably going to be your best bet. And I'd say that the small units that I've got one very, very, very tiny unit because they're making some nice camping units. And this is a precursor to those units, and it probably weighs in about 15 pounds, right? 10, 15 pounds, somewhere around there. It's lightweight. It's easy to carry. The next one up probably comes in closer to around 15 to 20. So a little bit heavier on it. It's a newer unit. Again, they've got normal battery plugs on the fronts. So all you have to do is make sure that they're charged, plug in your lights, you're good to go. And you can put one around each of your light stands so that you don't have any cables to worry about. You don't have any extension cables to worry about. But you do have to carry these units, which is a far cry from what studios used to have to be, right? Your studio was a fixed place that you had. You had to have power everywhere that you were going to possibly run lights. And you may not move the lights. Once you get your studio set up, you're done. But by having a portable studio, it gives you so much more flexibility. You can take pictures of families in their natural habitat, where they're most comfortable, at home, right? You can just go to somebody's home, unintrusively set up the lights, take the photographs that you need to take, and then just pack everything up and go. Again, make sure that you're protected from anything that you might do to the floor by having pads and stuff. Make sure your lighting has ways of being lit up, preferably without having to rely on their electricity and trying to find a place to plug in. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of outlets in my house that have more than one thing plugged into them. You got a 2-outlet setup. It's got two things plugged into it. Trying to find another spot to put a light in my living room would be a challenge. So have some way that you can run your own lights. The panels that I've got have a pair of batteries that go on the back, just like your camera has a couple of batteries in it that you can recharge. You can do the same thing with these panels. Or again, get some small units that you can plug down and run your lighting from it, and you'll be good to go. It's getting to be the darker time of the year up here in the Northern Hemisphere, so we're going to need all the lighting that we can get. When I set up there, to give you an example, I was in Ticonderoga, New York. We had a good amount of light. I was able to set it to 1/200th of a second without having the lights up to all the way. By the time we got to taking the photograph, which was probably about an hour later, it was still sunny outside. You know, it wasn't a lot of clouds at that time, but I was down to about a stop below 200th of a second and needed to turn the light up at ISO 400. I didn't want to go below 400. I didn't want to go, by below, I mean into the graininess of the higher numbers. So I didn't want to go to 8. And so my shutter speed for a still photograph was more than enough. But the difference between when I got set up and then having the people there and the change in lighting was quite a bit. It's just that time of the year. So when you're putting your kit together, make sure it's something you're going to be able to lift. So check your bag weights and check the weights of the stuff that you're going to be packing into the bag. Bear in mind that if you're going to be packing your backgrounds in there as well, you're going to want to keep them as flat as possible, right? You don't want to fold them too much. You don't want them to get crushed together so that they come out looking wrinkled. So plan for where they're going to live. And again, when you buy your lighting kits, maybe your lighting kits come with their own bags, and you can reuse those bags to put your backgrounds and other things in so they can take up as much space as they need to and not be a problem. You know, if your bag is, let's say, 4 foot long and you've got an 8 foot long backdrop, all you have to do is fold the backdrop in the middle and roll it. And the only thing you have to worry about is the fold in the middle, right? So they're easier to use that way, and it's easier to carry around. And then you can have an entire studio that can travel wherever you want to go, and you don't have to pay rent. So that's what I got for you guys this week. I will talk to you all next week.